In today's video, we're going to take a look at the many controversies surrounding this Magic the Gathering promo card that broke the game. Hey, it's Nikachu. Introducing Nexus of Fate. It's a 7-mana blue instant. Take an extra turn after this one. If Nexus of Fate would be put into a graveyard from anywhere, reveal Nexus of Fate and shuffle it into its owner's library instead. Now, where do I even begin with this card? Let's start off with the fact that taking an extra turn is one of the most powerful effects in the game. Time Warp also takes an extra turn for 5 mana, but is a one and done card. Nexus of Fate goes right back into your deck, giving you a chance to draw it again. But that couldn't possibly be worth playing for 7 mana, could it? Could it?
We've got Hunter Cochran facing off against David Williamson. Wow, Simon, a real treat for the viewer today. Turbo Fog in the hand of David Williams. This is a deck as old as the card Fog, essentially.
Introducing David Williams' Turbo Fog deck. It uses fog effects like Haze of Pollen and Root Snare to prevent the lethal damage coming from his opponents, to prolong the game before he can lock it up with infinite turns. The deck keeps the fogs coming by drawing extra cards with Karn, Scion of Urza, and Teferi, Hero of Dominaria. But how do we get extra turns? That's where Search for Azcanta comes in. When you have 7 or more cards in your graveyard, it flips into the land Azcanta the Sunken Ruin, which has the activated ability of tapping it with 3 mana to look at the top 4 cards of your library, put a non-creature, non-land card into your hand. So it can find more fog effects, but can also dig for that Nexus of Fate.
One of the most insane interactions you can have with Teferi, and again in all formats, is the interaction with Azcanta, the Sunken Ruin. You can draw the card from Teferi, activate your Sunken Ruin, get another card, and then untap it with the Teferi as well. So you're effectively drawing 4 cards per turn cycle.
With 4 Nexus of Fate in the deck, there's a point the deck gets small enough that David is guaranteed to draw a Nexus every single turn, and turn his opponent Hunter into a permanent spectator in their own match. So how do we even win with this deck? The answer? We're going to start by ultimating the Teferi, Hero of Dominaria. You get an emblem with whenever you draw a card, exile target permanent an opponent controls. And with infinite turns, infinite card draw. Pachoo, 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 pachoo. Once we've exiled our opponent's board, we can use the -2 ability on Karn, Scion of Urza to make construct creature tokens to help win us the game. So Hunter scoops it up. And if we time-lapse their second game, Hunter Cochran is sitting there doing nothing, but watching his board get picked apart turn after turn by the Teferi emblem. Stop, stop, he's already dead. This is such a soul-sucking strategy to play against. It's like a combo deck that never combos off. Every turn, Nexus of Fate, Nexus of Fate, Nexus of Fate, Nexus of Fate. What is this, Groundhog Day? The deck was so powerful it was also played in the hands of Yamwing Chun, who is up against Shahar Shenhar on an Esper control deck, which plays Duress to look at Yam's hand to take a card from it. Yam reveals his hand and what the hell is that? Are those proxies? On the Pro Tour? What's going on here? Nexus of Fate was released on July 12, 2018, as an exclusive foil buy a box promo for purchasing a booster box of M19. Buy a box of Magic cards, get a free promo! But when I mean this card is an exclusive foil, I mean it only exists in foil form. Foils are the shiny collectible versions of regular cardboard Magic cards. But the thing about foils is that they can curl from the humidity level in the air. That's a problem because foils can stand out when stacked up against regular cardboard Magic the Gathering cards. And in a tournament, that's illegal! You can go straight to jail for something like that. Getting back to Yam's game, it looks like he got approval from the judges to play with proxies that would stand in for his Nexus of Fate so that he wouldn't be playing with a marked deck. But holy crap, this looks ridiculous! Here we have the highest stakes Magic the Gathering tournament, streamed officially by Wizards of the Coast, And it's perfectly fine to craft cards with a basic mountain and a Sharpie. In fact, the last time we saw Sharpied proxies was 25 years ago, back when decks had to be unsleeved on camera to avoid glare, so damaged cards had to be replaced with basic lands and a Sharpie. To make matters worse, this Turbo Fog deck got so popular that it was one of the tier decks to beat. Judges had to issue even more proxies in tournaments, all because Wizards insisted that this one-of-a-kind promo had to be in foil. While Nexus of Fate was an exclusive buy-a-box foil, it wasn't the first of its kind. Originally, there was Fire Song and Sunspeaker, which was the foil buy-a-box promo for the Dominaria set. It too was a tournament legal card, but fortunately was too weak to see actual competitive play. So would Wizards intentionally power down these cards to make them unplayable? Or was this a ticking time bomb waiting to explode? Well, the next promo card was Nexus of Fate. Well, that didn't take long. Can Wizards go one set without breaking something? Even though it was an entire 2 mana above the traditional Time Warp, the fact that it could be looped over and over and over again completely made up for it. Control decks in Magic had no problem getting to 7 lands.
And he has a white source. He's got that irrigated farmland.
Yeah, he did.
Yeah.
Nexus of Fate and Shahar's got to be like, really?
Come on.
3 in a row?
How many do you have?
How could we not see this coming? I'm just kidding, a lot of people saw this coming. But it gets worse. Nexus of Fate is busted when cast for full retail. But what if I told you you could play it at a discount? Only half a year later, Nexus of Fate would be broken in half. Again. On January 25th, 2019, the Magic set, Ravnica Allegiance, would be released, and with it, the most devastating upgrade possible: Wilderness Reclamation. For 4 mana, it's a very unique enchantment. At the beginning of your end step, untap all lands you control. So you tap 4 lands to cast this, and they immediately untap at end of turn? This card literally pays for itself. So long as you can play at instant speed, you can double the mana from your lands each turn. To demonstrate the power of Wilderness Reclamation, let me introduce to you Michael Bonda, piloting the Simic Nexus deck.
Bonda down to 9, Duke on 19, all cylinders, all systems are go here for Reed Duke, but a Wilderness Reclamation for Michael Bonda and a Nexus of Fate in hand. Reed Duke is hell-bent. Is this the beginning of a beautiful friendship?
Well, Michael does have a Memorial to Genius in play, but still does want to find additional ways to draw cards. And, you know, for example, did he choose to shave on some number of Chemist's Insight to be able to fit a few more of these interactive spells?
So, 4 mana floating, and after the Wilderness Reclamation trigger has resolved, Bonda is now in a position to fire up that Nexus of Fate.
Wilderness Reclamation would finally break the fact that Nexus of Fate is an instant speed card. At end of turn, Wilderness Reclamation will trigger, and you can tap all untap lands you control to float the mana. Then untap all lands you control so that you can cast your Nexus of Fate, still leaving lands to spare to cast spells and activated abilities. It's important to note that with Wilderness Reclamation, you only need 4 lands in play to cast your Nexus. At that point, it's virtually cheaper than Time Warp.
And unfortunately, he's not going to be able to crack that Memorial to Genius just yet. Oh no, he can.
No,
of course, he can because of the Druid. Excuse me.
He does have the Druid of the
He does
Cowl.
have the Druid of the Cowl.
So he now has 3 new cards to look at.
It's pretty good. That's pretty good. And the reason, of course, that he's casting that Nexus beforehand, I would imagine, is that he is very much hoping that he redraws it.
Absolutely.
With one of those 3 cards.
I just love how the judge has to shuffle the deck for the players so that the foils are randomized. They almost never do that because they have better things to do than shuffle players' decks. I guess it's an alternative solution to playing with proxies on camera.
Like you need to find something like a Hydroid Crisis.
Hydroid
you need to be
Crisis would be
cycling
fantastic
through your
here.
deck with Chemist's Insight. So let's see what Bonda can cook up here. Chef Bonda finds a Biogenic
that
Ooze.
is huge.
That is a massive card here. This card has only been going up and up and up this weekend, and you can see how many Ooze tokens Bonda has brought to this party. Let's not forget, Paul, that every trigger from the Wilderness Reclamation represents so many Oozes.
Michael Bonda would ride the Simic Nexus deck all the way to the top 8, etching this deck into Magic the Gathering history. And if you think this deck was bad enough in paper, you should have seen how it played out online on MTG Arena, which weirdly ended up breaking the digital game. Nexus of Fate Online was a complete abomination. I don't remember the exact details, but back in the day, MTG Arena's timer system didn't let you lose the game. So the Nexus players gamed the system and barely played with a win condition at all. After the Nexus player nukes the opponent's board with the Teferi emblem, they then depended on the -3 ability to put their own Teferi back in their deck. And by stuffing their Teferi back in their deck each turn, they would have infinite draws. And that means passing the turn infinite times until the opponent has drawn their entire deck to death. Cause of death? Watching paint dry. Then there were some Nexus players that were like, well, I can't win the game, but neither can you! They focused on exhausting the opponent out with an infinite loop.
I've been at this for about 5 minutes now, I think, and he just won't give up. I mean, he just continues to draw Nexus of Fates, and he just continues to cycle Nexus of Fates until, you know, I guess he wants me to rage quit.
But you see, in paper play, you're not allowed to do this. You can't repeat game actions indefinitely into a draw. A judge would step in, make you stop at some point, and force you to progress the game or you lose. But you know, online? Where's a judge when you need him? Online, you can cast Nexus of Fate as many times as you want, as long as you want. Many users showed off their frustrations posting videos online stuck in an infinite loop.
He's been taking his turn for about half an hour at this point. So this needs to stop, Wizards.
The player who wins is the last one to leave the game. Sounds like a Mr. Beast competition. But then there were other games where the Nexus player had all their win conditions answered. The only thing they could do was loop Nexus until the opponent was bored to death. And what better way to show off this cool gameplay than Shahar Shenhar, who at the time was a Wizards-sponsored creator. Except neither player wanted to resign.
Our opponent has been looping Nexus of Fates for the last 30 minutes, and they've played 3 Teferis. So either they have another Teferi here and they're trying to sneak in a Teferi through Absorb, or they just have no win conditions at all.
1 hour later.
300 clips of clicking OK, yeah. Oh my god! They've conceded! It's over! We have won!
And almost 2 hours later, Shahar was victorious. And that's going to be the Fusion Gaming Online Get Dunked On instant replay. And if you think that was bad, Ali Eldrazi also got trapped in a Nexus loop on stream that got the opponent banned for 24 hours. I love how we ban the players faster than we ban the cards. Could it be that the cards we design are broken? No, our player base must be broken. But eventually, Wizards of the Coast had to bite the bullet and face reality. Nexus of Fate would be banned in multiple formats. The explanation for these bannings would be for similar reasons, like Nexus of Fate prevent the opponent from playing at all. Win conditions sometimes take half an hour or more to finish, with the majority or all of that time being non-interactive. Risen to a level where it is starving out other options and warping the format around itself. And for these reasons, Nexus of Fate would be banned in the Best of One Standard, Pioneer, Explorer, and Historic formats. Yeet that crap out of here! Also, after a year of experimentation, the exclusive buy-a-box foils would be discontinued. Future box topper-like cards were either a foil they could get a paper version in the set, or a non-foil alternate art in nature. And I'm sure this change was made not to repeat the absolute disaster exclusive foils had on tournament play. Well, that's my video for today. What do you think of the extra turn mechanic? Let us all know in the comments section below. Smash like for the power of Pringle cards, and don't forget to subscribe to my channel, or you'll end up in extra turn purgatory.